In this demonstration, we're going to have a look at how to configure endpoint protection policies. And in order to do that, what we do is we need our Assets and Compliance workspace. Within our Assets and Compliance workspace, we're looking at endpoint protection. So we'll come to endpoint protection. Within here, what we'll have a look at is our anti-malware policies. And within our anti-malware policies, what we want to do here is we actually want to create a new policy. So we'll come up to our ribbon bar, we'll create an anti-malware policy. That's going to take us into a wizard. So what we want to do here is we just want to fill our wizard out. We're going to call this Windows 8.1 client policy. We've got Windows 8.1 anti-malware policy. So what we'll do here is we'll just go for selected scans. We'll go for our scan settings, default actions. We'll go for the real-time protection. Actually, we'll just turn on all the tick boxes. And then within each of these tick boxes, we can then click within things like scheduled scans. So scheduled scans will run a scheduled scan on the client computers. Yes, we can specify the scan type. We can specify the scan day, scan time. Run a daily scan, yes or no. Let's run a daily scan. Do that at 2 AM. Check for the latest definition updates before running a scan. That's always a good idea to say yes. And then start a scheduled scan only when the computer is idle. Again, probably a good idea to leave that as yes. Force a scan of selected scan type if client computer is offline during 2 or more scheduled scans. Yes, we will. And limit the CPU usage during scans. 50% seems fine under idle. Then we have our scan settings themselves. So scan email and email attachments. So again, we can say yes or no. Scan removable storage devices. I always like that one turned on to yes. Won't bother with the network drive because I'm assuming that my server administrator is already scanning the server. We will scan archive files, and we will allow users... No, we won't. We won't allow users to configure CPU usage. Don't want users messing about with this stuff. And user control, definitely not. Default actions we've got here. So under severe, or quarantine, high quarantine, medium quarantine, low allow. We might decide we'll remove anything that is severe. Under real-time protection, what we've got here is we can specify the real-time protection settings. So enable real-time protection, yes or no. Monitor file and program activity, again yes or no. Scan your system files, so we can scan incoming and outgoing, or incoming files or outgoing files only. Let's just do incoming files. Scan all downloaded files and attachments, yes. Enable behavior monitoring, yeah, we'll have that as well. Enable protection against network-based exploits, yes on that. And allow users on client computers to configure real-time protection settings. Don't want end users messing about. On my exclusion settings, so do we wish to exclude anything? I'm not going to bother modifying any of this. I'll just leave it as is. On the advanced tab, so create a system restore point before computers are cleaned. Ideally, we'd be running these machines from an image, so worst possible case, we just pull everything back from an image. So I'm going to say no. Disable the client user interface. Let's say yes. Show notification messages, no. Again, we don't want users getting involved in this. So delete quarantine files after. Yeah, 30 days seems fine to me. Allow users to configure the setting, definitely not. Anything that allows users to modify anything, I'm going to say no. In the case of the threat override, I'm not going to bother changing any of this, but if we click on the set button here, we can specify the override. The Microsoft Access Protection Service, we've already said no in the case of our server endpoint that we don't want to take part. And then in the case of definition updates, we can specify checking for endpoint definitions. In this case here, specific interval in hours, we're going to go with 8 hours. Check the endpoint protection at a certain time of day. Force the definition update if the client computer is offline. For more than, it says here 2 consecutive scheduled updates. We'll leave that as no. We've got 4 sources selected. If Config Manager is used as a source for definition, the clients will update from alternative sources older than 72 hours. And if UNC path file shares are selected as definition update source, we need to specify the UNC path. So these are all of our client settings. These will be pushed out really as part of a client update. So we'll select OK at this point here. So now what we've done here is we've specified our new Windows 8.1 client policy. So next thing to do is to deploy it. So we'll right click, and what we'll do here is we'll click deploy. This will then bring us into another wizard. So within this wizard here, what we need to do here is we just need to actually specify exactly what we're going to push this out against. Now I want to have this against all Windows 8.1 workstations. So we'll select OK. We can also create Windows firewall policies for our end devices. So we'll go for our Windows firewall policy, and what we'll do here is we'll create a new Windows firewall policy. Just fill out the wizard again. I'm going to call this Windows 8.1 Client Firewall Policy, and my description will be Windows 8.1 Firewall Policy, so select Next. That then brings us into our profile settings. So what we want to do here is we're actually going to configure this against all, because we don't know where the user will be using their endpoint device. So that's enabling the Windows Firewall. Then we've got block all incoming connections, including those on the list of allowed programs. So what we can do at this point here is we can specify, again, yes or no. Now what I'll assume here is I'll assume on our domain profile here, we're fairly happy. Same with private profile here, we're not going to configure any of this. But what we'll do for the public profile is we will block all incoming connections. And we're going to do on the notify the user when Windows Firewall blocks a new program, we're going to do that in all cases. So we'll say yes to all of this. Now that we've done that, we'll say next. Just in the case of the summary page, click our next button, allow that to progress through, and wait for the tick. Let's come back to successful, so we can select close. And very similar to our anti-malware policy, we need to right click and we need to deploy. We then need to specify, in this case here, we're going to use a schedule. So what we're going to do is, in the case of simple schedule, we're going to run this we'll run this every 7 days, and we will target this against all Windows 8.1 workstations. And select OK, and select OK. And we've now created a firewall policy as well. That's the end of this demonstration of managing endpoint security. Thank you.